Welcome, everyone, to Textiles and Tea with the Handweavers Guild of America. Welcome you all today. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Carolina Fiber Fest. Isn't that a great logo? Excuse me. It's a wonderful little conference. It is in March 13th and 14th. They're going to have fiber artists. They're going to have demonstrations, got classes, fleece sales, equipment sales. There you go. And 70 vendors. And it's all at the Jim Graham Building in Raleigh, North Carolina. And what a great place to be in March, right? Especially all of y'all in New York. Make a trip to Raleigh. Get out of the snow. They're also doing a really cool thing where you can go online and get their free pattern and you can make the item. And if you go to the conference, you show it to them and they get you a little pin that says you made the item for that conference. I think that is way cool. So check it out, Carolina Fiber Fest. Thank you all so much for being our sponsor. We want to make sure that you put your questions on the Q&A and not in the chat. We love the chat, great comments, and we always love reading those later if I can. But if I get a question over here on the Q&A, I can actually see it and I can respond to it. And we'll get to as many questions as we can today. We are excited to have Margaret Jones today. There she is. Margaret entered tapestry weaving late in her career, beginning 3 years of full-time study in 2012 and completing an MFA in tapestry in 2015. 90% of Margaret's tapestry weaving is traditional, not like this. She has enduring love for her ordered flat surfaces of traditional weft-faced tapestry. Her art influences are many. The most predominant are the female surrealists, as you can see in this work, particularly Remedios Varo. Surreal images blend beautifully with the mythical and legend themes of Margaret's work. Ideas are documented in sketchbooks that are filled with drawings and colors and snippets of overheard conversation. That's a great idea. And photos taken at random. The images are digitally manipulated, printed, edited, layered, and color corrected. This use of color is crucial. Margaret dyes her own yarns to achieve her exact shades. We're excited to have you today, Margaret. There she is.
Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for asking me.
All the way from England, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
We're such an international bunch. So this is a good question for you. What is your favorite tea?
My favorite tea. That is a very long question in this household. We take our tea very seriously.
I bet you
So
do. I bet you do.
I would always start the day with Assam, and then later, after about lunch, head into Ceylon. And it's always loose leaf tea made in a pot, never a tea bag.
Oh, you're a purist, I can tell.
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, tell me how you got started in fiber.
Oh, well, I don't quite know. I mean, I can't say that it was in my blood, apart from the fact my mum was a demon knitter of jumpers, but that was back in the day when it was something to do. If you didn't have a lot of money, you made your clothes.
Yeah.
Um, but I've always sort of made things in textiles. And then in 2010, I just had a bit of a midlife crisis and did some short courses, one of which was tapestry weaving. And the exact date was the 8th of December 2010. It was just like, that was it for me. That's what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
So did you see like a tapestry exhibit or how did
Mm.
you how did you know to take that class?
Well, it was like a foundation thing they do at Western College where you do 10 of their short courses. And I'd intended going uh, to do like wearable art. So I was going to continue what I'd been doing before, which was printing fabric and making clothes out of it. And then one of the courses, I just thought, oh, this tapestry weaving, I've never done it. And yeah, the rest is history.
How serendipity. What if you had gone to take, a paper making class or something? Thank goodness. Thank goodness. We have you now for your weaving. All right. So one thing I liked about your work is it looks like watercolors. And I have no idea how you do it. I would have to watch you to understand it. So did you study painting at school before you went into tapestry? Where did that painterly influence come from?
Don't know. I really
You don't
don't
know.
know. I mean, it just happens. And I sometimes I start with images of things like nebula
Oh,
and that sort of thing. Um, I have to say I'm very amused by you saying about the painting because I was once shortlisted for an award and nobody knew that it was my work. And one of the jurors who decided I shouldn't have the award said, it just looks like this artist has turned her watercolors into a tapestry. And I just had to laugh because they didn't know that I knew that, heard that comment. But I just had to laugh because no, I'm not. I probably could be a half decent watercolorist if I wanted to be, but that's not me. I don't like paint, it's too messy.
well, I don't want you to become a watercolorist. I think it's beautiful as is. It is so gorgeous. Um, Now, this next work is called Uncle Antonio. And I have to tell you, I started looking through your images, and I don't know why, but this grabbed me. I don't know if it's its expression or what, but it's so compelling. It's so intense. All the little hearts are popping up.
Yeah.
What's the story behind this piece?
This is a picture of my great uncle Antonio, habitual
Really?
drunk and probably a bigamist. And it was taken from his Metropolitan Police mugshot.
Oh
Um,
my.
but he just looks so sad, doesn't he? There again, I
So
think if
like,
you,
oh, life is awful. And I guess it was.
yeah, well, yeah. But
And it should have been.
I mean, he probably wasn't a terrifically nice man, but I just felt a bit sorry for him, really. He just, yeah.
Well, what's the secret to getting that facial expression in, especially in yarn? I mean, it's one thing to add a little paint here and a little paint there. You can't go back and do that in tapestry. How do you do
No.
that?
Um,
If you could just do like a class right here and now and teach us all.
yeah, there's one of two ways. One is well, no, it's just one way, really. Have a cartoon. I always work with a
Um,
cartoon and trust your cartoon. And the other thing to do in weaving a face quite often is weave it upside down because then you're just weaving the shapes. You're not trying to
Oh,
weave a face.
probably all you tapestry people are going, oh yeah, I would have never thought of that. That's a great idea. Well, I love this piece. It's just amazing. Now, you have such an amazing range of topics that you do, from realistic works like this one, to more abstract images like this next slide. We've got both. How do you approach each? Like you have this beautiful self-portrait on the left, and then you have a more abstract on the right.
Yeah.
Do you approach each differently when you're designing it and you're weaving it, or is it just the same?
Um, no, they're quite different because I don't really design the portraits. This self-portrait was done specifically because there's no black in it. It was woven, I was trying to make optic black. So the background is green, blue, and red. And then,
Really?
yeah, and then as I've want the paler colors, I've used paler green, blue, and red. And you can see where the red has turned quite pink to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in a way, that self-portrait was a bit of a exercise in color.
Brilliant.
Whereas the piece called The Cave is that took me a long, long time to get that image how I wanted it. Lots of cutting out, drawing on, taking a photo, putting it in Photoshop, all that sort of thing. It took forever. And there was a bit in the image that I really liked, which had to go in the end because it just didn't fit. So yeah, it can take quite some time to just get those abstracty images together how I want them.
So the one on the right, when I was reading your bio, it was talking about this. This is something where you took the pictures and you printed them and manipulated them. Now, do
Yeah.
you finish with a cartoon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would have had this something like this, that image in Photoshop at the end.
Uh-huh.
And then I would print it out on a sort of fairly small piece of paper and
Uh-huh.
just draw over the lines through acetate. And then I'd have that made up to the size, enlarged to the size I want to weave.
And the cartoon has color?
No,
Okay.
it's black and white.
Okay. I
Yeah.
wondered because most cartoons I've seen are either been an outline or, like you said, black and white, and I didn't know.
Yeah. And it will be straight lines and dotted lines and a few cross hatches. And then maybe I might just write on it, don't put this here or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Well, this,
I'll write on it as I'm weaving as well.
you what? I'm sorry.
I'll write on it as I'm weaving.
Oh, what kind of things do you write?
Um, Dark green here, or don't forget the bamboo shiny yarn or something like that.
Oh, that's great. It's great. Um, well, this next piece, what I loved about this is the movement in it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I think we jumped a slide, Mandy.
Yeah.
Go back. There we go.
Oh,
There it is.
this
I
one.
love this one for the movement. Now, there's obvious movement with this kind of like reddish, but I think it's kind of gold cord through it, right? But
Yeah.
the pattern that you used in the background also just kind of takes you through it and up and around. I love the movement. So was that important for you when you were designing? Were you conscious about wanting the item travel through it, or you just knew that's how it should look?
Well, I mean, it sort of uses this thing that some people call transparency and some people called overlay, in as much as those
Oh,
curves go over all the colors. And as it goes over, it changes slightly. And that was something that I realized you could do with tapestry right from day one. And yes, I mean, they're waves. So this piece is called Land Under Wave. And so it is just like, again, it's layering. So you've got these big pieces of wood that stick up out of the sand, and
uh-huh.
then you've got the waves and you've got the rock pools, and the fish, but they're all very flat, one on top of the other. No perspective, which is very traditional tapestry wise, not having perspective.
Now, I know somebody's going to ask, so I'm going to go ahead and ask now. Is that red or gold cord? Is that like embroidery? Is that on top, or is that in put in just like you do the rest of your tapestry?
It's on top, so it's I take a piece of very thick yarn and then the colors I want to use, so that it's a sort of a golden bronzy color and a dark red, and you wrap that round your very thick bit of yarn, and as you weave you just weave it in, but it's sitting on top,
Oh,
sitting on proud of the tapestry.
I love this piece.
It's one of my first tapestries, that one.
No, really?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
you've got a God-given talent.
Thank you.
Mine looks like a beginning coloring. The first tapestry I ever did. It's pretty pitiful. Okay, you've discussed the very I love this. I read this on one of your websites or interviews or something. But you discuss various problems with large scale weavings in a way that I've not heard people talk about before. Maybe I'm just clueless. Um, there's logistics of shipping, the difficulty of finding space for the exhibit that can hold large pieces, the high cost of buying one, that they're not very affordable for the general public. So, do those issues impact you when you're trying to decide what you're going to weave? Do you stay away from the large pieces because of those, or do you just have to weave what you got to weave?
I have to weave what I've got to weave. Um, and also, it depends what you call a large scale tapestry. I mean, I don't consider a meter by a meter to be large, but so that would, in American size, that would be a yard and a bit by a yard and a bit, three
Uh-huh.
foot by 3 foot, something like that. I
Right.
don't consider that large, but I know a lot of people who go, no, that's so big, I can't possibly weave it. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know about in the States, but over here, most people have quite small houses.
Mm,
So where are they going to put a tapestry that's 2 meters square,
right.
or 6 foot square? It's quite tricky. And again, a lot of the galleries are quite small. Um, there's a big European exhibition called Art Tapestry, and it's never come to the UK because it's unless you can get one of the really, really big galleries like the Tate to take it, which they
Oh.
wouldn't. There's nowhere big enough to put it on. Yeah.
Well, I've heard people talk about other aspects of doing the a large piece, but this was kind of the nuts and bolts that I never thought about before. It was a great article that I read that you did. It was really
Oh,
informative.
thank you.
But you did that though. You organized an exhibit for large tapestries, didn't you?
I did.
Tell us
Well,
about that.
they weren't that large. It started off, it's called Hellref, which is an old English word meaning tapestry hung on a wall in a public space. Um, it it started off just in one venue, and it was the largest size. It was up to 50 centimeters square. So what's that? That's about 20 inches square. And that was such a success. I went up to 2 years later, I did it again, and we went up to a meter square. And then Hellref 3, we went up to 2 meters square. So what's that? That's about 6 foot, 6 foot square. Yeah, something like that. Um, just because to me that's what tapestry is. It's the big stuff. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, the small tapestries are lovely, but
Yeah.
traditionally, you walk into an exhibition full of big tapestries and you just go, well, I just go, this is what it's all about. So yeah, that's why I started Hellref.
Now, is it still
Don't know
going?
if I don't know, but we really struggled with the last one because we couldn't get funding.
Oh,
Um, and funding in England is just a nightmare at the minute. I might take it back to basics. I have just recently, having got over the last one in 2024, I was thinking, yeah, maybe we could do it again and just go back to the smaller scale in a smaller gallery and that makes it more affordable. It makes it almost self-funding. So watch
Mhm.
this space. Yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
Well, I'm sure everybody watching is putting that out there that you're going to find funding and a great space. So this will continue. We're all putting that out there for you because we all know how hard it is to get an exhibit up and running.
yeah.
Um, you use mythology in some of your in as a theme in some of your works. So do you draw upon the symbolism, the universal stories behind it, or something more personal? And do tell us about this piece too.
Oh, this piece. This is one of my, this was not the last tapestry I finished, but the one before that. And I'm very much still in love with him. He's glorious. He's in the BTG exhibition that's going around the UK at the minute. Um, and he's sort of a green man, which, if you know what a green man is, it's the idea that in the winter the old year dies, so the green man is killed, and then he's reborn for the new year. But normally green men are sort of like men's faces with oak leaves coming out of their mouths, and that's sort of in the UK. I think it's become a bit of a cliche, and it's called the 700, and it's based on a Dutch folk song about there's some discussion about the translation. It's either 700 trolls or 700 elves coming out of the woods, and basically it's because humans have moved in and stolen their land, and they've come out being very grumpy and very angry. So this was taken from a drawing I did of the face, and the background is from photos I took of foliage at Kew Gardens in one of the greenhouses. So that's how I sort of layer my work. So the face is in the foliage, but it's not in the foliage. So yeah, that's where that one's come from. But I think myth is really important. We have this thing about, you know, most myths are good and evil. And I think as the human race has to feel that good can prevail. So
Mm.
we have these myths, we tell us these myths that yes, and that's why a lot of the time, like we have a lot of myths about the devil, and the devil's actually really rather stupid in a lot of these myths. There's lots of landscape myths around the south of England, you know, where the devil is tricked into going back down to hell, and he's actually rather stupid. But I think that makes us feel that, you know, when bad things are happening, we can overcome them.
Well, I looked at this for a long time before I saw the face. That's the
Mm.
problem of looking at a small image. But I loved it because it's just so subtle, like that light green piece makes the top of his nose, and
Mm.
just a little bit over here does his eyelid. I just love that. How subtly you did the shaping of the face.
Thank you.
How
Yeah,
do you
I'm
learn
very
that?
happy
I
with
mean,
it.
if you didn't take drawing, did you take drawing classes?
No.
You can do that just by looking at an image.
Yeah,
You're good, Margaret. You're very good.
thank you very much. It's all
Now,
about light, isn't it? It's not so much drawing, it's all about light.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did it just so exquisitely. Just that little shade there, it was just works beautifully. So, talking about tapestries and the design and thing, how do you design? Because I thought I read somewhere that you don't draw anything, and then you and I talked, and you said, "Oh yeah, you do," and you have a note. And then I read your bio, and it says you have notebooks. So, how do you design?
Um, with all those things you mentioned before, it's everything. It's I mean, something can be triggered by, as I say, just something someone says.
Hmm.
It's like I went on a thing in France, going around all the tapestry things in 2023, I think it was. And I
Uh-huh.
know one of my fellow French trip people is watching. And I'm not sure if it was Nan or if it was one of the other people. We were talking about we were in Angers and talking about something, and I said I'd hoped to see a hoopoe bird because I'd never seen one. And we were just talking, and one of the group said, "Oh, we'll have to call you the Lady of the Hoopoe." Now, not my next tapestry, but possibly the tapestry after that is going to be the Lady of the Hoopoe. It's going to be a big life-size figure, which is probably me, in a sort of quite modern medieval dress, holding a hoopoe bird. And so it's back to that sort of like the little myths and legends and stories we tell ourselves. So that's where things come from for me. And I say it can just be someone said something once about the heartbeat of a ghost. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful. So
It's a
that'll
great
probably
turn.
pop up
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah, that will
Heartbeat of
probably
a
pop up
ghost.
somewhere. Yeah, I don't know how. Might come up as text. I do quite like weaving text.
Well, do you have like a notebook you carry with you and you dash down something and then later you take something from this page and something from this
Mm,
page? Or do you have
yeah.
a complete design in mind when you put something down?
Um, some both.
Oh, okay.
The piece that you saw earlier, the cave, that was one of those where I took a bit from here and a bit from here. And it I really struggled with it. Whereas the Green Man, the 700, came together quite quickly. Once I decided on the 3 layers I was going to use, it came together very quickly.
Wow. Um, oh, this next one, this was hilarious. Again, I was reading this and I fell in love with this whole thing of you describe your yarns in a very anthropomorphic, am I saying that right? Anthropomorphic
Yeah.
terms, because you refer to them as the girls. And so would you talk about this and how you visual and why you visualize them as female? Was this like a conscious choice? Does it just speak to you that they're the girls? I love that.
I, yeah, I didn't consciously think of them all as female, but that's how they seem to have ended up. But it's like I was thinking about this because he said about it, but I spend hours and hours with these fibers. You get to know them; they're like old friends. Um, and the tapestries as well. I mean,
Oh, I
most of
bet.
those are female, apart from the Green Man. Most of my tapestries I think of as feminine, even if they don't have girls' names. Um, yeah, and again, something else, something I heard once. I heard a metal worker speaking once, and he talked about what he called the cry of tin. Because if you take a piece of tin and bend it, it cries
Oh,
very gently. It cries. And yeah, so I think all our materials, they're quite important to us, and they take on a life of their own.
oh my gosh. Well, because the article was so funny because you were talking about, well, I get the girls together and I sit them over here, and then I get these girls and I put them over here, and I could just see you doing that. Like, okay, we need some blues and greens. All right, girls, over here, get these girls together. I just cracked up laughing, and I don't look at my yarns the same way now. I look at them completely different.
Oh, good,
Um,
good.
the one thing I'm curious about, and I always wonder this because you work so hard, because you can work like months, years on a piece, right? Because they're so big and they're so detailed, right?
Mm.
Is it hard to see them go away? I mean, now you, even if you get money for them, is it hard to say, go to your new home?
I don't know. I don't think I've sold enough to think that. Um, no,
I mean,
some of them I have to wait till I'm ready to let them go.
okay.
Yeah, there was a guy talking to me on the 700 piece, Green Man piece. It exhibited at Collect last year, which is a big, very, very posh like craft show in London, which has just went up today for this year. And there was a guy talking to me about it, and he said he thought it was overpriced. And if he'd been really, really enthusiastic about the tapestry, I would have negotiated. But he just wanted something that he
Mhm.
thought would appreciate in value. And I couldn't honestly say, yeah, of course it will. It will be worth double in a few years. But I wouldn't have let that tapestry go just to someone who was going to roll it up and try and keep it, because I'm actually very fond of that one. But you know, in 5 years' time, I might have fallen out of love with it, and I'll go, no, take it. Here you go. Yeah, give me a fiver. I don't think so. But yeah, some
Oh,
mean more than others.
yeah, it's like people who buy art to match their couch. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I'm sorry. I had a question and I've lost it already. I'm thinking about that guy in the yarn. It's like the tapestry. You can't have that. You don't appreciate it. Um,
Yeah.
my dog agrees. This next work is called The Way of All Flesh. And
Mhm.
this was so touching when I read this. This was inspired by your mother's brain scan. And how did translating, because it's not an exact replica, but you translated
No.
it into this piece. How did that help you deal with a really intense situation?
Um, I'm not sure it did really, to be
Oh,
honest. It was quite tough because well, when a parent has dementia, and you know, some I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you. Some people, when they get dementia, become quite malleable and kind, whereas my
mhm.
mother didn't. Um, and so it was hard, but in a way, my tapestry weaving means I can go into my own little world. So, but I
Oh,
just
yeah.
felt that it ought to be marked in some way, this sort of deterioration. So, yeah, I took bits of the brain scan. I never see any point in just taking, for instance, a scan like that and reproducing it just as it is, because there
Mhm.
doesn't seem to be much creative input from me. So you can see on the piece it goes from pale on the left hand side to the darker on the right, which really in a way is showing her descent into darkness, if you like.
Mm.
And also, there is the circles in it, these little concentric circles. They are predominantly little tiny bits of red yarn, which was my mum had vascular dementia. So it meant that her blood cells were just disintegrating and closing up, and the blood wasn't getting through. So that's why these little red lines are broken to signify that.
Ugh. I wish we could do a bigger and see that little tiny red. It's such,
Mm.
I mean, we've talked about this before with other artists too, is that sometimes just a little bitty tiny bit of something is so powerful in the piece. It's just amazing. Um, the next piece we're going to talk about is kind of a jump to the other extreme on color, because most of your work is really, really colorful and bright, and
Mm.
this one is amazing. So I was curious because somebody else said something about dyeing yarn. They made a comment. Is that when you have these colors, do you find that you have to dye your own yarn to get the color you want to, or can you buy it off the shelf the way you want it, or what?
Um, Both.
Okay.
I generally dye my own yarn, especially the greens.
Really? Why
Because
the greens?
I just really the only, if you want proper tapestry weaving worsted, hard worsted yarn, there's very few places to buy repeatable colours in the UK, and the main one really is Weavers Bazaar, and they have
Mm.
a range of greens, but they're all very, most of them are very acid greens. They're very yellow, so I always seem to end up dyeing my own greens,
Huh.
especially. But I dyed a fair bit of this. I dyed the oranges and some of the blues as well.
Well, we have another image of this. It's a detail
Mm.
because this is just beautiful. So talk some about what this piece was about.
Well, it's about going back to the myth thing.
Mm.
I It's called The Alchemist's Dream, and it's about Hermes or Mercury, the god, who was a messenger god, but he was also like the god of alchemists. Um, and going back to what you were saying about how I put pieces together, the design for this piece happened in about 5 minutes flat. I know. I was just going layer, layer, layer. Oh, yes, got to do that. And I was on a tight schedule. So if you remember in the full image, it's like two rectangles, one like this and one like that. So it's got little bits cut out of the sides because I wasn't quite sure what to put in there. And as I say, I was on a really tight schedule. So I just decided not to weave those bits because it would be less weaving. And also it just takes the tapestry out of the square a bit.
Mandy, can you go back to the previous image? Because I want to talk some about that shape, because that's a unique shape.
Mm,
Why
yeah.
that shape for this particular piece? Is there a reason or it just felt right?
No, it just felt right. It felt right.
Oh, it's amazing. I love the contrast of the orange and the blues.
It's nice, isn't it? And the
Mhm.
blacks, most of the blacks are linen, and they're quite fine. I seem to remember I went down from double warp to single warp with the linen, the black linen, which just gives that nice line. And it means you can get those curves more beautifully.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know somebody's going to ask, so I'll go ahead and ask now. What do you use for weft?
Wool mainly.
Hmm.
Mainly wool. This one has got linen in it. Um, and cotton. If I want something that's very white, I'll use cotton or linen. And I can also be seduced a bit by things like tencel because it's shiny. Because, as I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
yeah, because as I said, when you were talking about the girls, I mean, silk is not, I always think silk should perform beautifully, but she seems to get a bit lost in there. She doesn't shine as much as the tencel. So I tend not to
Really?
use it.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets lost.
Oh, we don't want that.
Mm.
Well, this next one, next image is fun. This is Gwendolyn. And I wanted to show it after we showed the intense colors because
Yeah.
but it's so powerful. I mean, it's kind of a monotone, but it's just so powerful. And
Yeah.
it's just a different approach. So can you talk about, and I love the theme of it. Please talk about this.
Um, this was woven the first of my 3 years when I did my MFA. And when I got to college, I sort of stopped using colour for a bit because I wasn't quite sure I should be there because I didn't have any art background. So they took me on the basis of my portfolio, which was amazing. And I was very happy about it. But I did spend the first year waiting for them to say, I think we've made a mistake. Can you go? There's the door. So colour suddenly became something quite difficult for me during those, certainly the first year. Um, it was something else to contend with. So I did go quite neutral, quite pale with a lot of them. So this was, we had this little thing during the month of February where we had to produce an artwork a day. So I got
Wow.
tiny little squares of paper. Well, yeah, but I got tiny squares of paper and blew inky bubbles onto those squares of paper. And that got me thinking. So I started doing more of it. So these are sort of three of my inky bubbles. And I'm really bad at knowing what to call tapestry. So I called this one Gwendolyn. And then she got accepted for an exhibition in Ukraine, which was brilliant. And then that was the first time Putin invaded and took the Crimea. So I'm sending um, messages to these people saying, is it still going ahead? And they're going, yeah, it'll be fine. I'm going, okay. And as I say, it's quite difficult to send work abroad. So I basically rolled her up, put her in a tube, and sent her parcel force to Ukraine. And I then got a little message sent by my husband, but it was ostensibly from Gwendolyn saying, please don't send me to a war zone. I don't want to go to a war zone. And then my brother, who's an author, started writing the diaries of Gwendolyn
Oh,
about
how
her trip to the
fun.
Ukraine. So I've still got Gwendolyn, and she just took on a life of her own. And then in my third year at college, I had to write a dissertation. Well, it wasn't a full length dissertation, but so it was actually written in the guise of Gwendolyn talking to a gallery owner. So yeah, she's taken on a whole life of her own. I'm very fond of Gwendolyn.
So what are the colors that you used in this?
It's all natural. It's natural wool
Oh,
and natural linen.
okay. And the weft is linen and wool?
Well, the background's wool, but the darker bits tend to be the linen,
It's just
and
lovely.
it's cotton warp. I generally use cotton warp.
It's just lovely. I love it. And the story makes it even better. What a great children's book that would be. The story of Gwendolyn who travels to an exhibit. And
Yeah,
there you go. You get bored, there's something else you can do.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
As if you get bored, I'm sure. So what
good
is
fun.
next for you?
Oh, what's next? In September, a friend and I have a show in Chichester, which is quite close to me on the south coast, and we desperately weaving work based on the environment we live in. So it's based on the Sussex countryside. Um,
On the what?
the Sussex
Oh,
countryside. So we
Sussex.
both
Okay.
live in Sussex. Um, and at the moment, I'm working at the Tapestry Studio at West Dean, because when they need an extra weaver, they ring me up and say, would you like to come in and do a few days a week? So that's full on till the end of April. Uh, and also going back to the thing about scale, I have been trying to weave some smaller tapestries just simply because they're easier to get shown and they're easier to sell. Because it would be nice to sell the odd work. I can only roll so much up underneath the bed. Yeah. And I've been invited to exhibit at London Craft Week in May. So that's a weekend in May.
Oh,
So that will be
lovely.
all new work. Yeah. Um,
Do you
yeah.
teach?
I do teach a bit, not a huge amount. Um, but yes, friend and I, the friend I'm having, Jane Brunning, who I'm having the show with in September, she and I teach, and we do like 2 days a month. And it's a regular thing. So we do a project each year. So we start off with a creative thing, creative process, and then we encourage all the students to uh, take that process and turn it into a design for a tapestry. So by the end of the academic year, they've got a tapestry based on that design.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
that would
I
be
mean, some
amazing.
people weave tiny things because, some people, unlike me, have a life beyond tapestry. So some people just weave something little and some people weave bigger pieces. Yeah, it's really nice. I do like teaching, and I like that teaching because it means we've all know each other quite well. We understand each other's the way, you don't expect someone who likes doing big knotty tapestry to suddenly produce something that's uh, like a very finely woven piece of French tapestry. But I keep trying because that is my first love, the absolute beautiful flat woven surface, very fine.
I think you should come to the US and teach.
Yeah,
All right, everybody, jump
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
I don't
I
even do
do that.
tapestry and I'd go. I'll
Yeah.
just sit there and listen. Well, we got tons of questions. We're going to see how many we can get to. And I have to say, I was bad. I only asked about size, I think, for one piece. And everybody's saying, what size is it? What size is it? So we may have to go back and talk about some of the other
Okay.
pieces and what size they are. So my bad. I'm sorry. Um,
That's
what kind of warp and weft? We talked about weft. What do you use for warp? Is it
generally
always,
cotton.
oh, cotton?
Yeah.
What
I find,
size?
well, hmm?
What size?
It depends. Depends
Uh-huh.
how fine I'm warping up.
Okay.
And also, size is just become totally pointless in the UK. When I first started weaving, they said if you bought a number nine's warp, it would be three strands, and each of those strands would have three strands in it.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get a nine because it's three threes. And so if you have a 12, you have three fours.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's just how thick it is. They
Oh,
seem to, the various companies seem to have abandoned that idea.
wow.
So yeah.
Oh, a couple of people asked this. This is from Laura Van Horn. The uncle piece,
Mm,
was it woven sideways?
no,
Okay. She said it looks like the weft is going up and down.
I don't think so.
Mandy, can you bring it back up?
I'm sure I didn't weave him sideways.
Okay. Again, it's hard to see when we're looking on
Yeah,
a screen. Um, that's okay, Mandy. Don't worry about it.
yeah.
How large are these? Sorry, Christine. I'll try to ask both Christines. Forsyth and Williamson both are like size. Um,
Oh,
this is from Connie Mano. This is obviously a tapestry weaver. So they want to know if you make up your weft bundles of single threads of a final color, like requiring many weft colors to make the final color, or do you combine threads in the bundles to see the intended color? So what do you put in your bundles to get your colors? Are they one color, several colors?
no, they're generally several colors.
To
I mean,
get a
like with
final
great,
color, right?
yeah, with
Okay,
Great Uncle Antonio, the background was just one color. But in
right.
his face, to get the gradations, a bundle would maybe start with one dark, two
There we go.
medium, and one pale. And then to get all the shading, I would just take, so like in the top where he's got the hat on, as to get that little line, I just change the bundle and take one of the darker threads out and put one of the medium threads in. And then as it gets lighter towards that top bit of that line, you're taking another darker thread out and maybe putting a lighter thread in. So
There you go.
it's quite subtle. And
Good,
yes, that was woven from the bottom to the top.
good question, Connie. Thank you. Um, Jennifer wants to know, I don't know, Jennifer, I'm not sure what you're referring to, which one it is. If you want to come back in and just tell me which, she wanted to know if it was woven sideways and how big it was. Jennifer, I can't tell what your question is. If you want to come back in and redo it, I'll check for it, okay? Um, where around the world is some of your work on display, either as an exhibit or a permanent collection? That's from
Oh,
Christine Williamson.
gosh.
She wants to know.
Oh, wow. Not that many places at the minute. As I say, the Green Man 700 he's just heading down to Plymouth to Devonport in Cornwall. Um, I mean, I have got work in private collections, places like um, well, the US, Alabama. I know there's a piece in Panama.
Where in
Um,
Alabama? Do you know?
um, Auburn. Is it Auburn?
At the, like at a museum or a gallery?
No, that's private collection.
Oh, a
It's
private
private
collection.
collection. Yeah. I've got a piece in public collection in Mexico, in a museum in Mexico. Um, but yeah, they're
Listen, we
just
got to get
dotted
you over
around.
here. Now, Jennifer may have been taught, she said 70, maybe she meant 700. She wants to know how big is it? How big is the 700? Do you remember?
700 is
Guesstimate.
a meter and a half high, 75 centimeters wide. So what's that?
Meter and a
That's
half is 4.5 feet.
about 30 inches wide
Okay.
and 60 inches high.
Okay. Is
That
that
feels about,
hopefully?
yeah.
Yep, that's what she wanted. Yep.
Mm.
She wanted to know about the Green Man. And then she also wanted to know, do you always, well, she wanted to know if it's woven sideways. Do you ever weave sideways?
I do weave sideways. That
Okay.
wasn't woven sideways. The
Okay.
one you showed with the bit of the golden line on it,
Yeah. That's
that's
sideways?
woven sideways
Ah.
because it depends where your straight lines are and what your cartoon is. I wouldn't, I mean, traditionally everything was woven sideways from the back, but I just weave whatever is appropriate for the pattern.
Um, how large is the brain scan piece? Do you remember?
Oh, I think that's 2 meters wide.
Okay.
So that's going to be about 6 foot.
Okay.
It's big.
Thank you, Nan. Okay, we answered that one. Oh, somebody wanted to know what kind of dyes do you use?
I use acid dyes because they're repeatable and they're color fast. A lot of people are horrified that I don't use natural dyes, but again, they're quite difficult to repeat. They're rarely as color fast. And to be honest, a lot of the mordants are just as toxic as the acid dyes. And you can't, I've never managed to get the really bright, vibrant colors with natural dyes.
Did you learn to dye while you were in school, or did you just teach yourself?
I sort of taught myself, and working at Westin helps because we have a dye studio there. Because they are one the other tapestry studio in the UK, Dovecot. They don't dye their own yarns, so it's decided that Westin would dye their own yarns. So every time they do a
Oh,
tapestry, they dye a bespoke palette for it.
oh, wow. Somebody wants to know, Leslie would like to know, what is the EPI that you work with the most?
Oh, I'm going to have to work that out. Um,
Or making life difficult for you?
10.
10
I
inches?
work 10 to the inch.
10 to the inch. Thank you
Yeah.
for doing our
I
math.
yeah. I work at 4 to the centimeter, so that's about 10 to the inch.
Okay. Um, this is from Christine Williamson again. Um, she wants to know that in the Gwendolyn piece, she said she thinks she sees images of animals. She says maybe a
Wow.
goat at the bottom, a unicorn at the top. Is that just my imagination?
Yes. And
So
whatever you're on,
see what
can
you've
I
been
have some?
drinking, but enjoy, right? Enjoy it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
absolutely. Yeah.
Heather Sinclair said, I really enjoyed this and understood what you were saying. I love the images and the colors, and I agree with the use of loose tea. Somebody else said something about loose tea. Yay for
Yeah,
loose tea.
absolutely.
Berna Lowenstein wants to know in the cotton wool. I'm not sure what this means. She wants to know, do you use 100% cotton or a mix of cotton and wool?
Right. I might use a strand of cotton next to a strand of wool, but
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't use cotton and wool that had been spun together
Okay.
to make
All right.
one yarn. And that's because I usually block my tapestries, which means you pin them out and you put damp cloths on them. And if you've got a fibre that's two fibres, they're going to react differently.
Okay. Several people are asking about what you're wearing. They want to know if it's felted.
No, no, it's just knitted. It's all my own yarn. So old yarns just knitted
Everybody
into a
loves it.
big woolly.
They love it. Um, oh, Kathy Kuhn says, I think the Green Man would be wonderful at the Chelsea Flower Show. Flower Show.
Oh, yes, wouldn't he look lovely there? I shall go and find someone and say, put this up.
Absolutely. Well, they're going to see our show, and that'll be the end of that, you know?
Yeah.
Um, how many strands are in a bundle? But that's from Rama, but that changes, right?
It depends, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely depends. Depends on the thickness of the individual strands, because sometimes I use something as fine as sewing cotton.
Uh-huh.
So you could put that in with a few strands of wool. And also, although I usually work at the 4 ends to the centimetre, as in 10
Okay.
to the inch, sometimes if it's a big piece, I'll do coarser. And sometimes if it's a very small piece, I'll go down to 7 to the centimetre, which is about 15 to the inch, 15 or 17 to the inch. So that's incredibly fine. I wouldn't do anything big that fine.
Mm. Um, Doris Floric. Hi, Doris. Wants to know, do you weave from the back?
Sometimes.
Oh, really? You switch back
Um,
and forth?
I
You're a switch
generally
hitter.
weave, yeah, I generally weave from the front,
Uh-huh.
but there are certain techniques which are much easier to do from the back. So where necessary, if I know I'm going to use those, I'll weave from the back.
Okay. What kind of loom do you prefer?
Scaffold frame.
A what?
Don't use a loom. I use
Oh,
a
a
frame,
frame.
a
Oh, okay.
frame. So it's like two, I don't know what you call them in the States, they're acro props here. They're things you use for holding up the builders use for holding up the ceilings.
Yeah.
And two scaffold, yeah, and two scaffold poles. And so
You're
you just
kidding.
no, I just use a giant frame made out of scaffold poles and acro props. And a lot of weavers over here do.
Really?
Yeah, we've got several in the studio at Westin, and yeah, and
Again, my ignorance about tapestry is going to show because I've seen these really complex tapestry looms with things
oh,
across
yeah,
it. And anyway,
yeah. No, it's too complicated for me.
Jennifer wants to know, where is the show in Chichester? Am I saying that right? In September?
Chichester. It's in a little gallery called the Ox Market,
Do you know
and
when it is?
it opens on the 15th of September for 2 weeks.
Jennifer, if you go, you got to tell us all about it. Um, this is an interesting question. This is from Christine. She said, um, she's curious about why you got an MFA and kind of went on about how was this going to the University for Traditional Art Forms in the USA. She said she'd be more likely to go to a folk art school rather than a full university degree. But she was just wondering the advantages of formal education, of going off and going to
Um,
take a class.
there's nothing like a folk art school, as far as I know, in the UK.
Oh,
Um,
well, that answers that.
so there's like that one full-time course, which I believe is the only course in the world you could get a master's in art specializing in tapestry weaving. There's lots of other places where they do tapestry weaving as part of their mixed media studies or something.
Mhm.
And I just purely by fortunate chance happened to live half an hour from it. So that's how I could go to the college and do that. It was either that or just keep going on short courses and
Mm.
things like that. And I felt that even that early in my career, my weaving was pretty good. And I wanted to get more art into it, more art
Oh,
input.
okay.
But at the same time, I didn't want to do painting. I
Mhm.
was definitely, and I did spend those 3 years with the tutors saying to me things like, don't you think you'd like to do this? And I go, no, I'm a tapestry weaver. And, I said that probably every week for 3 years. No, but I'm a tapestry weaver. I
Leave
was
me alone.
very focused.
I know what I'm doing. All right. I hate to say this, but we have to stop. And I'm sorry I didn't get a question. We haven't had this many questions in eons. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them. They were amazing. Um, I do want to thank you for being on the show today. It was a delight. I wish I could see your work in person. Here is Margaret's website if you want to learn more, see more of her work, um, what she's up to. It's wonderful. Just go check it out. MargaretJonesArtistWeaver.com. So thank you so much for being on here today. I hope our paths will cross and I get to see your work in person.
Yeah. I
Thanks
hope
so
so. Thank
much.
you very much for having me. It's been fun.
Absolutely. We want to thank our sponsor today. Look at all these hearts. Oh my gosh. We want to thank our sponsor again, Carolina Fiber Fest. Don't miss their conference in Raleigh in March. Like I said, get out of the snow, go south, go to this conference. They're going to have all kinds of great things. We've got some great classes. Some of the people we've interviewed are teaching, which is kind of cool. And there's vendors, so you can buy some yarn that you need, and displays and all kinds of critters to watch. And it's out of the snow. So check it out. Carolina Fiber Fest. Go online and learn more about them. I think you'll enjoy it. It's March 13th through the 14th in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you're going to come to Convergence, now is the time to act. Some of our sessions are filling up. The tours are nearly full, and the tours are awesome. You're going to see a lot of behind the scenes things about Mardi Gras, about the local artist. The tours are amazing. So if you're thinking about going, sign up now. Make sure you get on board. You have a chance to learn from outstanding fiber artists, experience so many things. We've got vendors, we've got classes, every various sizes. If you want a 3-day, 2-day, a couple of hours, it's all there. And of course, the runway fashion show, that's the highlight of the week. And we're going to have small expressions there, other exhibits, all kinds of things for you to be at. So check it out. I know some people are concerned about the heat. The one thing that's really nice about Convergence this year is we're in one building. You never have to go outside unless you want to. So if you're concerned about that, let me reassure you that you don't really have to deal with it. We also Convergence is small expressions. What a delightful exhibit that we have. And the deadline is April 6th if you want to enter small expressions. If you've seen the exhibit, you know how wonderful the pieces are. Here's your chance. Whether you're a first time or an old pro at this, give it a shot. What you got to lose. It will be at Convergence, and then it will travel. It's a wonderful experience and a great way to get your work out there and be seen. And we have prizes. Well, how can you beat that? So Convergence, small expressions, April 6th is the deadline. Be sure you get your piece in before it's too late. If you want more information, be sure to go to weft-faced.org. The prospectus is there, and you can learn more about it. We want to thank everybody for your generous donations. Those are the ways that your donations and your membership is how we keep going. It's how we find new programming, looking at what do our members need and want, and that's how we do it is through the donations to weft-faced.org. So if you would like to donate or join or both, please go online and you can do that. Thank you all to those who've already joined and donated. Thank you for coming to this episode. But if you want to see past episodes or you want to watch this one again, you can by going to Facebook for 30 days. After that, if you want to see an older episode, you can and go to YouTube. I meet people all the time that say, oh, I want to watch it, but I can't. I work or I'm at this or I'm doing that. Watch it later. It's great. You can see everything and hear all about your favorite artist, even if you didn't get to watch it live. Next week, I'm so excited that we're going to have Judy Jetson. A lot of you in the Southeast know Judy. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday. Happy tea.